federal taxes in this country right now are the lowest they've been in 50 years. Mr. Cerbera talks about change and all this. It's just like going to a candy store, pick out the flavor, the color, the taste, and all of that, but forgetting that there's a cash register on your way out.
People that are unemployed and trying to help them out is not going to the candy store, okay? So let's be serious here, okay? A candy store. We are trying to help Canadians find work. We have commitments, and we've laid out serious proposals to get Canadians work. That is not going to the candy store, sir.
Two big names are scrapping it out in the riding of Vaughan Woodbridge. The Conservative incumbent needs no introduction. Julian Fantino is the former chief of the Toronto Police Service and, until January 2015, the Minister of Veterans Affairs.
I'm an immigrant to this country, like many of you and many in this particular community. I've lived in this community for almost 40 years. I've raised my family here.
The Liberal candidate isn't as well known, but his last name is. He is Francesco Sorbara. His distant relative is Greg Sorbara, a Liberal with strong roots in the Greater Toronto area.
I've put myself forward as a candidate in this dynamic and diverse and, yes, changing riding because I believe our families deserve better. They want better. The last 10 years, what's it been about? Scaring Canadians, fear.
Also giving as good as he got at this all-candidates debate was Libertarian Anthony Gualtieri.
Does anybody have a definition, a clear definition of what a terrorist is? I bet you I'll get 50 different answers in this room. That's what concerns me. What's the legal definition? Because anybody with this law can be branded a terrorist. Anybody. If you speak up against the government, all of a sudden, well, you know what? I don't like his extremist views. Maybe he's a terrorist.
Vaughan Woodbridge is a new riding which really reflects the enormous growth that's happening north of Toronto. There used to be 6 ridings in this area. Now there are 8. Half of the population in this riding is of Italian heritage. That's the largest percentage in Canada.
You know, it's the new Little Italy. We've had the Italian community steadily move up Dufferin Street from the 50s and to now. It's my impression is that it's relatively well-to-do, above average incomes, that you've got the immigrants that are there tend to be older. How will it play out? I think more important than whether, I think the most important thing is what the national trend is, and that's going to cascade into that constituency. The fact that both are Italian, in terms of the Italian vote, one could say, are offsets, so it really doesn't matter. And actually, when I think about it, in that area, in the last election too, and then the by-election, there's been a pattern of Italians running.
People that may not be able to afford it.
The liberal, when I come to this country,
that's right, and we helped you out.
66.
66?
I come like a 5 o'clock today.
Yeah.
Next day.
You start working?
I start to work on the bakery. You know, beaver bread.
Yes. Okay.
Now
okay.
it's Olympia Bakery. Before was.
Sorbara is a pretty big name in politics in Ontario. Any concerns about that?
No, not at all. Not at all, really. To me, it's all about what you've done, where you've been, what contributions you've made. We knew all these kids. There's the executive board. Yeah, this is, it's dated, obviously, but you know what? It's part of the legacy of this community, and it's part of my contribution to minor hockey, at least. I'm sure that some people rely on name recognition. I rely on the things that I've done. My credibility is my past, and even in this very building. I mean, we worked very hard back in the mid-'80s to enable us to continue with the hockey program, the figure skating program.
It's a tight race. It's a race that voters have a lot of questions, have a lot of issues that they want to talk about at the door, and I'm, we're knocking hard. We're knocking on a lot of doors. We're working very hard, and we're addressing their concerns.
What about the name recognition?
The name recognition. Well, you know what? People have to vote for a party and the party's commitments to them. And we have to earn their vote. We have to earn their vote. And we have to earn each and every single person's vote when we go knocking door to door. And we have to explain to them what our platform is about and how we want to help Canadians and how we want to help the residents of Vaughan Woodbridge.
We've got 2 Italian names. We've got Fantino. We've got Sorbara.
Well, Fantino, I know him very well. He's been around for many, many years. He's been the chief of police of Toronto, London, York, Sorbara, well, I'm not aware of Sorbara because I believe that's one of the youngest Sorbara. It's not the old one. The old one was a great person. I'm pretty sure this other Sorbara will be as good as Greg, but I don't have no opinion because I never met the gentleman, so I wouldn't know. But Fantino, I know him for a long time. He's been around. He's got the experience. I don't know. Maybe he's a little bit too old. Maybe he's some new blood. I don't know at this point.
Fantino is the incumbent, and he's a cabinet minister. Does that matter?
Yeah, it does matter. Being a cabinet minister raises your profile. You have more influence, or you're perceived to have more influence. You can deliver goods more easily to the constituency. Although, once again, I would come back to the point that more important is the overall thrust of the national campaign. Let's remember, in 1993, we had all these conservative cabinet ministers. They all got wiped out except one. That was Jean Charest. Even the prime minister lost. So dramatic things can happen. And especially in the 905, because this has historically been a swing area determining the coloration of the government.
What does it say to you that Prime Minister Harper paid a visit to Fantino's riding recently?
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. That suggests that they see that riding in play. The ridings you tend to stay away from are the ones that you know you're going to win, so you might be wasting your energy, or you absolutely know you're going to lose, so that's also a waste of energy. You know, you might make a token swing through, but the Prime Minister appearing there suggests, hey, we think this area's, this riding's important, and the area's important. In fact, we've seen a lot of Harper in the 905.
But if it was a sure thing, he wouldn't bother.
No, because it's not a sure thing. Actually, my perception of the race right now there is that it's a toss-up. I would give Fantino a slight edge. But again, we still have, 12 days, 13 days until the end. And we've seen that this election has had some topsy-turvy results.
As a cabinet minister, Fantino's career has been plagued with controversy in each portfolio he has held. Most recently, he was criticized by veterans groups for reportedly snubbing the spouse of a vet with post-traumatic stress disorder and allowing more than $1 billion of Veterans Affairs money to lapse and be returned to the Treasury. How has that affected your campaign?
Not at all. In fact, if people would only take the time to do a reasonable search or a reasonable assessment of what we've done, I'm very proud of what we have been doing for veterans long before I came to that portfolio, during my time in that portfolio, and since. Last year, we put $121 million more into veterans issues programs, services for them and their families. We've done a review of some of the things that haven't been working too well. We've been looking at the gaps and filling those. I think people sort of got sidetracked by misinformation.
Controversy continues to follow Fantino during this election campaign. He was recently charged with assault in a complaint dating back to 1973. It's alleged that while serving as a Toronto police officer, Fantino poured ketchup down his accuser's buttocks and smeared it with his police baton. How has this charge of assault affected your campaign?
Well, not at all. I think most reasonable people would see it for what it is. It's mischief-making. It's probably the desperation of certain individuals to sling mud and whatever. I'm not the least concerned. This will all get looked after. The disappointing thing is that that political motivation and desperation would drive people to bring forward a non-event that happened 42 years ago. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Legal troubles aside, Fantino has focused his campaign on his tough-on-crime stance. It's something he says resonates in this community.
It's always been a big deal. It's a big deal anywhere, really. And, I was the police chief here as well and was involved in many programs to deal with victimization issues, crime prevention issues, developing strategies to better deal with emerging crime, emerging issues, challenges. And, it's a big deal. Everyone wants to live in a safe community. We want to raise our family in a safe place.
As a father of two children, two young daughters, there's nothing more important to me. And I say with, complete candor, nothing more important to me that my daughters grow up in a safe and secure community. That we don't have worries about where they're going for school or on their way home, or if they're going with their friends. we need to have a safe and secure community. So those issues they transcend whichever party you belong to. We all need to invest in police resources. We all need to ensure communities are safe. So to me, it's almost a non-political issue. It's something that's just part of our society, and we want to make sure that Canadians feel safe and that the residents of Vaughan Woodbridge feel safe.
As a former police officer, Fantino has been very vocal about Justin Trudeau's proposal to legalize marijuana.
Well, I'm totally opposed, and I've had a great deal of experience in that kind of area of work, having done a lot of undercover work as well. And you see, the whole issue is we can't normalize an activity just because we think it's going to be okay. It's not going to be okay because it's going to create all kinds of challenges. It's one thing to be smoking cigarettes. Cigarettes don't normally alter one's mind or one's capacity or one's cognitive ability to deal with issues. Marijuana will, and it does. And then we have this whole issue of drug-impaired driving. So the more we present a normal situation, the more you're going to have people getting into it. And I don't think that's the kind of society that we're trying to uphold here in Canada.
How are the voters reacting to the proposal to legalize pot?
Well, if we get past the fear-mongering and the mistruths and lies that the Conservative Party says, it's sad to almost say that it's easier for youth in Vaughan Woodbridge and basically across Canada to access marijuana than it is for them to access cigarettes. So the policy that we have right now, it doesn't work. It's a failed policy. And that's the fact. It's a failed policy, and we need to do something about it. And what we've said is, we're being honest with the Canadians. We say, you know what? Let's legalize it. Let's control it. Let's take the power away from the criminals. The only people that are benefiting these days are the criminals from the proceeds. And the example I use when I go door to door is, if you have a 16 or 17-year-old son or granddaughter or grandson, and let's say by chance they get caught with marijuana, there's a chance that they'll be charged, because it is under the criminal code, controlled substance, and their future. What are their job prospects after? What are their school prospects after? Do we want to ruin their life for several years because of a substance that, from the medical evidence, says is less harmful than tobacco, less harmful than alcohol? So there's that issue there where you say to yourself, should we be spending all these resources on something where we can actually control it, tax it, legalize it? And it's not going to be at every corner store or anything like that. That's the Conservatives' fear-mongering. We're not doing that, not at all. What we need to do is be smart. Government has limited resources, and we need to redeploy those resources to where there's serious offenses going on, where we need to catch murderers and rapists and sex offenders. Those are the people who need to be in jail. They need to be in jail for a long time. But you know what? The marijuana issue, it's one of those issues where the Conservatives will try to scare people, and what we're saying is, let's think about it. Policy's not working. It's a failure. Let's do something differently. Let's do something that works.
What are you hearing about Bill C-51?
Well, Bill C-51 for me, I was a resident in New York City during the events of September 11th. So, I'm keenly aware of the balance between national security and civil liberties. And when we were in power, because the Liberal government was in power, we brought in legislation post-September 11th that, enhanced our security, enhanced security measures, but also we brought it in with sunset clauses and oversight. So I think the big thing about Bill C-51, there are some elements in there that we've said, do improve national security.
Because you did vote for it.
Yes, we did vote for it, but we also proposed 14 amendments. So we did propose 14 amendments with regards to the bill. And where the bill is really lacking is in the oversight and not having sunset clauses to say, does this legislation have to work? Can we review it? And I'm a big believer in when you bring in legislation that you can review it, you can change it. As a legislator, you need to be able to, you bring in a law or you bring in a new act, but you need to go back to it. And I think that's the part of the political process. That's being a legislator, is reviewing things that work and don't work. And with regards to Bill C-51, there are things in there that obviously have concerned us and where we proposed 14 amendments. But at the same time, there are things in there that do enhance our national security.
When you look at Bill C-51, there's a lot of provisions in there that limit free speech, has a strong concern with the definition of terrorism. Being in the legal profession, looking at statutes and litigation, a lot of things have a definition. And it concerns me that the word terrorism is not properly defined in the Act. So it leaves broad interpretations to freedom of speech and being arbitrarily detained. Section 9 of the Charter says we have a right to not be arbitrarily detained. The police need a reason to detain you. The Conservatives say this is all, it's only because of terrorism and this is only for terrorists. But if you don't define the word properly, who decides what terrorism is and what terrorism isn't?
There's an awful lot of misinformation about Bill C-51. What people are forgetting is that the bill is not in any way, shape, or form intended, designed, or otherwise to be perceived to be taking rights and entitlements or infringing on the rights and entitlements of Canadians. The safeguards are in place, but really we need to modernize our ability and give the tools to the law enforcement and national security agencies to do what today is necessary, that is to protect us from those who are intent on coming to Canada or being in Canada and creating terrorist activities, who are engaging in treasonous activities, who are engaged in declaring war on Canada. So all Bill C-51 does, it modernizes our ability to exchange information.
The riding of Vaughan Woodbridge has been generously rewarded with pre-election spending. $750,000 worth of funding has been announced for community projects like the Father Hermano Bulfon Center. So the Conservatives, pre-election, have poured a lot of cash into this riding. How do you go up against that?
Well, the way I would look at it is we've had an MP here for 5 years. So for 4.5 years, we don't know where he is. We don't know what he's doing. All of a sudden, the last 4 months, he shows up with checks. My commitment to the voters of Vaughan Woodbridge is I'm going to be your MP every day. I'm going to be in your community every day. I'm going to be fighting for your interests every day.
Were you an absent MP?
Well, that's such a ridiculous accusation because he's been an absent citizen here except for the last couple of years. Like, where's he been? I haven't seen him around here. I haven't seen him at any seniors meetings. The whole notion has been me working hard on behalf of the community. In fact, I can give you an inventory of things that we have been able to do, not only during my time here, but also my time in Ottawa on behalf of the community.
This riding is populated by many seniors. They are concerned with aging with dignity.
The pension is not enough. Everything goes up. And a little raise that wouldn't hurt.
You'd like a raise?
Of course.
Most neediest seniors, single seniors, we'll increase the guaranteed income supplement by $920 a year. It's a 10% increase. It's $840 million commitment. That goes to a million and a quarter seniors, and of which 950,000 of them, Laura, are single women. Because, it is a fact, the most neediest seniors, a lot of them are women. We will help them. The second thing we'll do is we'll return the eligibility age for old age security and guaranteed income supplement to 65. The Conservatives increased it to 67, and we're going to return it to 65.
What kind of policies does your party offer them?
Well, we offer them a quality of life that they otherwise would not have with programs that promote their ability to engage in services and participate in clubs and that. But we're also providing them with financial support in terms of less taxes that they need, less federal taxes that they need to pay. For instance, I'll give you an example. A senior today earning $20,000 would not over 20 would not pay 1 cent of federal tax. We also have the shared income situation, the tax-free savings accounts. These are all very, very significant assistance that give seniors added financial security.
There are also many children living in the riding. How is your party's childcare policy playing out at the door?
That is a wonderful question. I have 2 kids, and they're young. They're 4 and 2.5. And we know the costs with regards to daycare. I think we paid $22,000 last year for daycare costs for our 2 little girls. And that's an after-tax cost, of course. So that's very important. So what the Liberal Party has done is we have committed to increasing and bringing in a new Canada Child Benefit that will see increased payments for 9 out of 10 families in Vaughan and across Canada. What we won't do is send checks to millionaires. We think that's wrong.
We're trying to elevate the support for families. We're trying to ensure that families have the support they need to make choices of their own. The universal child care benefit, for instance, where they received families, depending on the age of the children and the numbers of children, retroactive support.
The Liberals first proposed extending maternity leave to 18 months to appeal to young families. The Conservatives just announced they are following suit. Now you want to extend maternity leave. This was a Liberal idea, but now you've adopted it.
Well, I don't think it's a Liberal idea. We've done an awful lot of meetings with families. We've done an awful lot of meetings widely. We get all kinds of ideas. I think it's an evolution. I don't think it's stealing anybody's ideas. I think it's listening to the people that we care deeply about and doing something about their issues.
Like most suburban ridings, especially those surrounding Toronto, much of Vaughan Woodbridge is stuck in gridlock in the morning and late afternoon.
Traffic is just getting worse and worse and worse, especially where I live. We have Avenue 7 coming up. We have another one coming across the street. We have the infrastructure is like putting on your suit and then putting on your underwear. Like, it doesn't make sense. To get out of Woodbridge Avenue, to get out of Highway 7, it used to take me 10 minutes to get to 400, 7 minutes. Now it takes me half hour. Infrastructure is terrible. And the lights should be all time so that at least it flows traffic. Kipling should be open so that traffic can go through. There's so many avenues that they could, widen the street. Like, it's all talk, and I don't see any action. And I've been here for 33 years, and it's really, really bad.
Gridlock. Highway 7 is bumper to bumper all day, all morning, all afternoon. It's awful. And then everything's going up. Woodbridge is just condos and apartments. It's just Kipling Avenue, and that's all there is. And nothing's being done about the roads. So how's everybody going to get back and forth? We have no subway going east and west.
I'm really proud of how the federal government has, in fact, stepped forward. The federal transfer funds, the gas tax transfer funds, for instance, going directly to municipalities, communities to deal with these kinds of issues, infrastructure issues. We have put some $700 million into the Spadina subway project here. We're contributing a significant amount of money as well to the Viva transit system that's across York region into Peel and that. So there's all of that. And then during the time when Jim Flaherty was still with us, the whole notion of how infrastructure money was being doled out was all about infrastructure issues, roads and bridges and those kinds of issues. So we're doing the best we can.
We need to invest in infrastructure. So we've committed to investing $125 billion over 10 years. We have gridlock and congestion that's clogging our roads up here in York Region and Vaughan. We need a government that'll act.
But the overriding issue in Vaughan Woodbridge is one that resonates around the entire country, and that is the economy. What concerns you about the economy?
Well, I don't think we're in recession now, but we're just kind of teetering. So the jobs, really good manufacturing jobs, are just not there. So,
what would you like the government to do?
Invest in innovation. I'd like them to invest in our children, invest in higher education. Long-term strategies, not just short-term goals.
I'm worried about jobs. I'm worried about the overall money flow and whether or not the Canadians are doing okay, and whether or not jobs go offshore, which is a big problem.
We've kind of taken the temperature of the economy generally, and we see that the economy is improving, albeit slowly. We also know that the globalization of issues, be it terrorism, public safety, be it the whole notion of the economy, we're also interconnected. What we're doing really is we're keeping ourselves abreast of what citizens can afford. We don't want to be raising taxes. We want to be contributing to increasing the ability of Canadian industry, Canadian businesses to continue to hire more people. There's some 1.3 million more jobs that have been created since the downturn in the economy. We're going in the right direction. The predictions are very healthy, albeit slow.
I look at the Conservative record, and I'm going to use the word pitiful. It's really it's a record that we cannot be proud of for the last 10 years. We've gone through 2 recessions. We have an unemployment rate at 7%, which was above the unemployment rate before we headed into the Great Recession. So we actually haven't recouped all those jobs. And we need a government that's going to show leadership. And what I mean by that is getting through the political messaging, we need a government, A, that's going to invest in infrastructure because we have an infrastructure deficit. All the experts know it. We've stepped up to the plate.
There is another issue gaining traction in this riding, and that is democracy and transparency.
I'd like to see our country become thoroughly democratic as it has always been historically. And I feel there's been a letdown in the last several years. Things have been kept out of the open. They've been kept secret. And as citizens, I think we feel we'd like to know what's going on. And a lot of it's been kept behind closed doors as far as I'm concerned. So I'd like to see a tone change completely in the whole atmosphere of being Canadian.
The anti-democratic government we've had in Ottawa for the last 8-10 years, it's shameful. It's absolutely shameful what they do.
What do they do?
What do they do? They don't allow the elected members of Parliament to have information. They cut it off. They cut off debates. They have omnibus bills. There's a total lack of transparency.
No, I don't see that anywhere. I mean, there's committees that work on every issue. There's participation on the part of all the parties. We network greatly with citizens on all issues across the land. There is no such thing happening.
We need a government that's accountable and truly transparent to the voters. So, we as a party have said we are going to post all MPs' expenses online. We were the first party to say that, and we were the first party to do that. Mr. Trudeau has laid out a number of commitments, there's 32 of them, in terms of being more accessible, more transparent to the voters. And I applaud him. I'm proud. I always say I'm proud to be a Liberal. I'm proud to be running for Team Trudeau. And these are one of the measures where I can look to and say, he is hitting it out of the park on this.
Also running in this riding are Adriana Vichy for the New Democrats and Elsie Boulanger for the Green Party of Canada. Both are studying at university and were unavailable for interviews. From Vaughan, Woodbridge, I'm Laura Di Battista for CPAC.